Are you ready?
Oh, he's going to fake it and keep it, and why not?
You think that you're better?
Oh, and now Shiano and Ryan Day appear to be jawing at each other.
Well, you better get ready.
Whoop! Right over him.
Break it down.
Welcome to the College Football X.
Up the middle, room for Beasley to run. Leaps over a defender and scores.
Yep, we're back. Hello, everybody. It's the College Football X.
Right on.
This time, everybody coming from the home offices. I'm not at the beach this week. Got chased away due to that little hurricane called Ian. Thankfully, the friends we were staying with there in St. Petersburg had minor impact, a little rain, some tree remnants in the yard, but otherwise they left pretty much unscathed. Their power was out for a couple days, but thinking about, I've got a lot of friends in the Orlando area. That's where I grew up, and some of them are still kind of digging out, and some folks out in the beach area there in Florida on the East Coast who are still waiting for the roads to clear and drain and get their power back. But like everything else, college football continues, and this weekend, guys, had some really weird games.
Yeah, the word to use.
There's no really better way to describe it when you have the top-ranked Georgia Bulldogs going to Missouri, a game they should have probably won by 30 points, and they only won because they scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter.
That's the one that jumped out the most to me. Like, what's Missouri's offense ranked?
11 billion.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
they've shown
what's going on there?
Nothing this season, and it wasn't even the offense. The offense consisted of 5 field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Their field goal kicker had a career day, but it was enough against the Georgia offense, who came into the game averaging well over 40 points a game. And the only reason they won is they scored 2 touchdowns and kicked 5 field goals.
But you have these days, if you're the top ranked team in any sport. I mean, think about it. If you look at any dominant team, there's going to be that game during their season where we're all going to sit here and raise our hands and go, what in the blue hell is going on here?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that this is the one. I think the after effect of this is going to be that Kirby Smart is going to have a human sacrifice, and he's going to yell at his players for an entire week. This kind of a game gives coaches motivation to remind their players that, yeah, you might be the top-ranked team in the country, but, you're not 100% there. You still have things to work on. You're still, 3-day-old.
It's being good every week, not just when you feel like it.
Yeah, you guys played like 3-day-old-ish out in the backyard, and we're going to work on it. And it just so happens that Auburn is going to be the team heading to Athens next week. And I believe, and this is a uniformed opinion here at Office HD, that the wrath of Georgia is going to inflict an ungodly amount of pain on Auburn next week, and it will not be pretty for any viewing party. Look,
Auburn's going to end up being the sacrifice you spoke about.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it is. You're going to see a funeral pyre right there at the G at the 50, and an innumerate amount of folks are going to be there. Look, the boss and her friends did not get tickets to this game. They knew what was coming. They are not going. They are having their own little to do with, it's like their own little tailgate at a centralized location where everybody's just going to kind of hang out and sit there and just watch the funeral procession go by. They're not going to Athens for this. They're not going.
Auburn's going to be a conversation a little bit later in the show when we talk about another issue, which is coaching hot seats. But speaking of teams with some question marks, I don't know if you guys got to see the Arkansas-Alabama game, but red alerts went off in Tuscaloosa when Bryce Young left the game with a shoulder injury of undetermined severity. the Crimson Tide didn't look like they missed a whole lot. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs ran for almost 200 yards.
It's amazing what happens when you transfer out of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they just decided, okay, well, we just won't throw the ball. We'll run it down their throats.
Yeah, they put up 21 in the fourth quarter alone.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was wondering what's going to happen. It's like, oh no, Bryce Young is out of the game. But then you have a Mack truck come in at quarterback that just runs RPO, and that's how you cover 17. I mean, literally, I mean, everybody was like, oh, Arkansas will cover that double digits. I'm like, it'll be late. Trust me, it'll be late. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It was a late cover, and you won by 23, outscoring them 21-3 in that fourth quarter. That's just absolutely crazy that, you have Jalen Milroe, who, was 4 for 9, but he was also your second leading rusher with 91 yards on the ground. So, Alabama will come at you from a couple of different ways.
And Marty, we got to talk about your favorite team, the team that's likely going to ascend to number 1 this week. A huge win over Rutgers, but there was a little controversy in that game.
Yeah, so during the game, the temperature flared after this, but the look Rutgers gave, when the game's already out of hand, they're going after a punt, and they overloaded one side. And the punter was just like, okay, if you're going to gift this to me, I'm going to run. Nobody told him to run. The coach, in the post-game press conference said, he and I are going to have a talk about that. But when he saw, that's the way it's coached. If they're overloading one side and there's nobody around the edge, take it if you can.
Right.
And he did. And then it got really heated there.
Yeah.
The problem with that the score was 49-10 at that moment.
Yeah, and I'm still a little worried about Ohio State's defensive backs. McAllister left during the game, and he was the transfer from Oklahoma, and he's the guy that's kind of translated this new defense over to the rest of the Buckeyes. So him dropping out makes me a little nervous. So hopefully he's not gone very long. They didn't have an update on the severity of his injury. They took his helmet, so he might have got his bell rung. Yeah, but they didn't go into any detail.
Ryan Williams had five TDs on the day goes 21 for 189, and
yeah.
I mean,
after that cheap shot, I was kind of cheering for them to put him back in so he could break the record instead of tie it.
Is that Dash that is doing that, Phil?
Yes.
Full disclosure. Okay.
New OSG member.
Yes. The newest member of the OSG family is a 5-month-old puppy who's hanging out with Phil in the office. So if you see anything going on with his camera, if there's a collapse of any sort of any of the electronic equipment on the video side, that's what you're watching. You're seeing the genius of a 5-month-old puppy.
I've got an idea that we need to include get the puppy into the game picks.
Yeah.
Let's get 2 dog bowls with a team sticker on each and let him loose. See which one he picks.
Here you go. Get him integrated fully.
They do it at a bunch of zoos. Why we should bring the puppy into the show.
Yeah, I think you should. So, Phil, tape something with Dash on a weekly basis and post it to the video side of things so we can see what Dash feels about certain matchups.
I'll send you a GoPro to put on his collar.
I have one. I have one that's doable. Couple other interesting games, or at least things that stood out to me this week. Go figure. Georgia Tech looks absolutely pathetic the first 4 weeks of the season. They fire their head coach.
There's a factor there that you just got into as to the why.
And they travel to Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh, who was a ranked team. What the hell?
Hey, Brent Key is a Georgia Tech man. And I think bottom line is you saw the difference between Jeff Collins and Brent Key. You want to be there for your new coach. You want to be there for your coordinator. You want to be there for Georgia Tech. Although I will give the social media at Georgia Tech a bit of the people's eyebrow for the full screen that they posted to their social media account. It was after a big hit was delivered. It's a still photo. Big hit delivered by a couple of Georgia Tech players, and they're kind of looking over the Pitt player, and the caption says Steel City, STEAL, Steel City. You get it. You got to win like that. You have not done anything in college football all season long. You fire your coach. you get a win over a ranked team who, by the way, was wearing their Pitt cursive script helmet for this one. And
Good throwback.
And you put that out on social media. That is grapefruits, as we say. Getting a win on the board like that against Pitt.
Yeah, another game of interest, and we've got to figure out a way to get Brother Jada back on the show. Because one of his 9 teams that he follows and cheers for every season, the Kansas Jayhawks, 5-0.
And
they beat Iowa State 14-11.
And they get game day next week.
When they play TCU for sole supremacy and lead of the Big 12.
And TCU took care of business themselves and thumped Oklahoma.
And speaking of social media, they were joking that TCU might get to 64 or 62 before the cut-ins would.
Well done.
What's going on with TCU though? I mean, Oklahoma. I mean, that was just anemic.
Up Oklahoma. Max Duggan was fantastic, and they've taken up. Sonny Dykes is a great offensive football coach, and if you give him any kind of a defense, they've got a great team.
That's just down the road for me. I was wishing we would have went to that one.
I mean, the fact that you put up 55 and didn't even score in the fourth quarter. Basically, it was almost the equivalent of running clock. It's like you got 55 on the board. A QB throws for 302 and 3. Your lead rusher has 136 yards and 2 scores. I mean, this one to me was probably one of the bigger shocks of the weekend, where TCU just kind of comes out of lane 8 at 3-0 and just thumps Oklahoma, who's now 3-2 and really will have no business being in the top 25.
Yeah, it was 41-17 at the half.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what kind of motivation that's going to give him for next week.
Not that close. TCU going to Lawrence for game day and sitting there going to say, "Oh, well, y'all haven't focused anything on us at all. Here we go. Here's your disrespected card from Sonny Dykes. Well, we're just kind of, we just beat Oklahoma, put 55 on them. We're not getting a whole lot of attention, but you sure are putting up a lot of attention for a team that, beat another team 14-11 last week here in Lawrence, Kansas. Guarantee you that's the sound bites from Sonny Dykes this week. We're being disrespected.
Yeah, even though said team hasn't won, what is it? What are they now? 5-0?
Yeah.
They haven't won 5 games in a season in over a decade.
Irrelevant and immaterial to the argument, Counselor.
Oh, I know. When you're a coach, that's totally irrelevant. Any other I have to mention this as much as I hate to because it was my alma mater. Did you guys see the play at the end of the Coastal Carolina Georgia Southern game last night?
No,
I did not.
No, what happened?
Oh my God, Georgia Southern has the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find the box score because that would be important to help. Because I don't remember exactly how long was left in the game, but it was under a minute to go. Southern gives up the ball. Coastal has it. They're driving down the field, and it's probably one of the best touchdown runs that I've seen in a long time. CJ Beasley goes 24 yards. Halfway through that 24-yard run for the touchdown, he literally hurled a Georgia Southern defender and kept going.
I saw the still of that hurdle. I just didn't know the context of it. Okay.
Yeah, Coastal gets the win 34-30 and goes to 5-0 in the Fun Belt.
Yeah. Jamie Chadwell.
Yeah.
Your new head coach at Auburn, Jamie Chadwell.
He'd be crazy to take that job.
But
that's a conversation that's coming up here very shortly when we start talking about hot seat stuff. And if you want, we could just kind of jump into that now because we've got a couple of
I had one more game comment to make, though.
Yeah?
Okay.
I always take a chance to rip on Michigan. How do you give up 14 points to Iowa? That didn't include field goals and safeties.
True. What is this offensive touchdown stuff that you're allowing Iowa to do? Come on now.
And they could have had 2 more if they would have realized their tight ends were getting open.
Oh, what a surprise.
That takes some realizing before it could actually happen.
If they could ever get an offensive coordinator, it wasn't nepotism based, they'd be in good shape.
You You mean just because someone has the license, the driver's license that has the last name of Ferentz? It just
Or just because they can carpool to the game.
yes. Dad, you need a lift?
They did throw for. I mean, hey, Iowa got 281 yards of offense. They threw for 246 yards. Spencer Petras had 246.
They got 2
touchdowns.
games worth of offense in a game they still lost.
They
Yeah,
doubled all of their stats probably.
I tripled them,
No.
arguably.
Oh, no doubt. Let's see. For me, really quickly, Wake is for real, knocking off Florida the way that they did. 2 teams now at 4-1. Texas Tech, you figured they might have a bit of a letdown after last week. They did, losing to Kansas State by 9, 37-28.
K-State also a very good team.
Yes, and they're flying below the radar there as well. James Madison unbeaten in the Fun Belt. They're at 4-0, so their transition to
They haven't
division.
missed a beat.
No, they have not. They did beat Texas State, even though it was in Harrisburg, Virginia, 40-13. I am scanning here, just trying to find highlights and such. But
Stadium, by the way, in Harrisonburg at JMU. If you've never been there,
yes, and
Beautiful town.
yes, and Nebraska got the Duke with their new outfit, and so that was kind of the highlights for me. And by the way, subtle plug in Division II, the single coverage interview that we had this past week on the app and online was with Missouri Southern head coach Atiba Bradley. They had their matchup against Pittsburgh State in Division II, the Miners Bowl. Pittsburgh State got the win, held Missouri Southern to under double digits in points. So, yeah, we go through trophy games and rivalries every week. Caught up with Atiba Bradley, the head coach of Missouri Southern last week, and it was fun to kind of get the idea about that game because he is a Joplin, Missouri guy, and he's coaching in Joplin, Missouri at his alma mater. And it was a really cool interview to catch up with him. And we will effort something else out of Division II. I have my matchup circled that we're going to try to track down for single coverage this upcoming week.
yeah, make sure to tune into that. It should be popping up hopefully by midweek on our social media channels and our YouTube page. Look us up at OSG Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. You can find us there. All of our great content, John's one-on-one interviews, this show, and so many more things. Remember, we are the online sports guys, so it's just look up at OSG Sports, and that's us.
Please like and subscribe.
Thank you, Marty. With that transition in mind, guys, we have started talking weekly about the coach's hot seat, and we're going to move into that segment now. We've got a new member of the coaching hot seat fraternity this week, Wisconsin coach Paul Chryst. A lot of rumblings that his time may be short up there in Madison.
Well,
the Badgers really struggling.
Struggling.
Have for the past couple of seasons. They got smoked by Illinois. There's really no other way to put it.
I know. With Burt coming home.
I was going to say, it's like, Marty, what is this that we're seeing here when Wisconsin gets smoked by Burt?
I was watching that game, and it was just like, this is awkward. This is awkward.
Awkward. And wow, they didn't even score a second half point.
No, they didn't.
Wow.
That being said, the Illini are 4-1. Off to a solid start, but Wisconsin 2-3 already, 0-2 in the Big Ten. Their chances of winning the Big Ten Western Conference already probably gone.
Yeah, but okay. Can I officially call my first time out of the show?
Okay.
And have folks slow their roll about Burt for a second. You beat Wyoming, you lose to Indiana, you beat Virginia, you beat Tennessee Chattanooga, and now you've beaten Wisconsin. You're 4-1 because of that.
As bad as Illinois has been over the last 5 years, that's an improvement for them.
You've got Iowa coming to town. You've got Minnesota coming to town. You're at Nebraska. Then you have Michigan State come to town. You have Purdue come to town. Then you finish at Michigan, at Northwestern.
The question's not about Burt or Brett I know we call him Burke because it's a
Yes.
joke.
Yes.
The question is not about the Illini and Bielema. It's what's going on in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And this was a team that pretty much has ruled the Big Ten West over the last how long?
Yeah, their defense was supposed to be strong, and it's not looking that way this year.
No.
No. And they've struggled on offense as long as we can remember, but their defense has always saved them for years now. And even that's not happening. And the natives are getting restless there in Madison. They expect to win 9-10 games a season, and it's going to be a struggle for them to do that. Is Paul Chryst done if they go 7-6 or 6 or I shouldn't say 7-6.
But yeah, if something happens with a bowl game to go to 7-6, I mean, their wins this year are Illinois State and New Mexico State. That's their wins this year. No, I mean, you lose to Washington State at Camp Randall. Then obviously Marty knows about the big win that Ohio State had by 31, and then you give up 34 to Illinois, and you don't score a second half point. You've got Northwestern. I think that's a pacifier. I think that you probably get the Duke there because you're going to Evanston. Then you're at Michigan State. That one's going to be a tough one for you. You've got Purdue and Maryland coming in. Then you go to Iowa. Then you go to Nebraska. And then you finish up with Minnesota. This just smells of average to me this year, and I don't think Paul Chryst survives it.
Yeah, that's the against Northwestern. That's a hot seat bowl. On our favorite little-known website, coacheshotseat.com, Pat Fitzgerald checks in at number 5 this week.
So all right. So go 5. Go to 5 from 5 to 1 for me. So what's 4, 3, 2, and 1?
All right. So we've got Butch Jones at Arkansas State at 4.
Okay.
Carl Durrell from Colorado at 3.
Yeah, and 2 and 1, but yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. David Shaw at Stanford at number 2.
Huh.
And Jeff Scott from South Florida at number 1.
Jeff Scott's still number 1, huh?
Oh, and Harson's not on that top 5 list?
No, the rest of the top 10 are Tim Albin from Ohio.
Yeah.
Sarkisian at Texas at 7. Mike Bloomgreen from Rice.
Okay.
Coach Ken at 9.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Loeffler from Bowling Green.
Wow.
Rounds out the bottom. Seth Luttrell just up the road checks in at 15. He continued his streak of pick sixes this season. They got to win, but they've been throwing a lot of pick sixes with a 40-year-old quarterback.
Scott Bakula's a quarterback?
Pretty much. It's just right out of the movie. Their quarterback, I think he played like 5 years in the minor leagues before coming back to college.
Okay.
So you're saying he's got almost as much experience as Stetson Bennett?
Oh, he's got some experience. That's one way to put it.
Speaking of Brian Harsin,
tickets for Wisconsin and Northwestern, by the way, for as low as $29 on the secondary market.
Speaking of Brian Harsin, they lost again despite offensively pretty much dominating LSU. The Tigers end up putting a nothing burger on the scoreboard in the second half of that game, and they end up losing again.
Which they're very good at.
Yeah. Does Georgia put the final stake in his coffin?
It's interesting.
As a head coach at Auburn, I don't want to kill the guy or anything.
No. He's not the Undertaker either, so we're fine. It's an interesting conundrum because right now the buyout's at about $15 million. If everyone inside Jordan-Hare Stadium that watched the game against LSU ponied up $215 each, they could have paid the buyout on his way out the door on Saturday night.
That's a big ask, though.
I know, and I told the boss, I said, if you're going to do it, make sure that you put it on plastic so that way we get miles and points to do it. And especially for the student body, you don't want to, put that kind of student debt on the youth of today. But you look at the Georgia game, and we've already said what we anticipate is going to happen. You've got Ole Miss after that on the road. Do you wait until after the Ole Miss game because that's the bye week? Or if they get blown out against Georgia, Then do you have your interim sit there, caretake, to create a verb, caretake the Ole Miss game, get into the bye week, and then get into some kind of a rhythm with an interim head coach for the rest of the season? That's the balance that you're looking at here. If the loss to Georgia is catastrophic and astronomical, which we think it is, I don't think you have any other choice, Marty, but to let him go and then let that interim head coach take the Ole Miss game and then the bye week to kind of get everything integrated for the stretch run.
Yeah, it's gonna be a telltale sign if they come out of the tunnel and they're playing the Undertaker theme song. Might be a little foreshadowing during the game.
Yeah.
That completely makes sense. Then you can get a little chance to get something going with that bye week the week after that.
Yeah, because Ole Miss is pretty darn good too. I mean, they are not a team to be taken lightly. And going into that break, Auburn could easily be 3-4 and staring at another losing season.
And only one win in the SEC. And that's completely unacceptable for folks that have that kind of an expectation.
So here's a crazy scenario. If they do put him in as interim coach and they get dog walked twice in his next 2 games, have they ever canned an interim coach?
If anybody would do that, Auburn would be the one.
Yeah, I was going to say only in the Premier League. I think that's the only place that's happened where they've canned a caretaker.
They sacked the guy who replaced the guy who got sacked.
Right. Yeah, that's the hook in all of this. And so
I just like the Undertaker to caretaker transition that we're looking at here.
I wouldn't put it past the Georgia Game Day crew staff to put that music out there.
Yeah.
That would be on every commercial break.
Oh, absolutely it would. And they would play it as loudly as possible, so whatever network part of the 4-letter family is arrogant, you're hearing it as you're going to break, especially in the third.
All right. By mentioning the 4-letter family, you're bringing up a big pet peeve of mine right now.
Oh, here we go.
If you follow my Twitter,
Yeah,
Sling TV dropped them at midnight on Friday.
Oh, the other issue.
Yeah.
Talk news dump. This is it.
I spent 45 minutes online. They tried to get rid of me, but I was not going to leave because I'm persistent. They charge extra for a sports package that gives you a bunch of extra games. And I had a simple request. I'm paying for football. If you don't give me football, give me the money back. And they're like, oh, we can give you a $10 credit for next month. And I'm like, if you think I'm still going to be a customer next month, you're sadly mistaken. I go, if you give me my money back, I want what I paid for, I'll stay. If not, bye. And they kept going on. And then I wasn't going to budge. The lady actually hung up on me. She's like, are you still there? And then click. I'm like, you liar.
Pretty sure you weren't the only person calling and complaining.
Yeah, except I was doing screenshots and live tweeting it.
Yes, you were.
That's sad. And, people that have that cut the cord aren't going to be able to see Monday Night Football tomorrow either.
It's the TV. It's the nature of sports on live sports on television right now. ESPN's got to pay the bills.
Yeah, and that's what they did is they try to put it on ESPN. I'm like, I've got no problem with ESPN and you. That's between you two. This is between me paying for that and not getting it.
Yeah, and what those companies, what the cable networks or the cable networks, what the cable companies or the satellite providers, what they use as their excuse is, well, we don't want to raise your prices. What we're charging you, and it's a no-win. I mean, as somebody that works at a television station, I can tell you that's a big chunk of their revenue, and revenue is what it takes to operate.
Yeah, I want to see how many people canceled Sling in the past 24 hours.
No doubt.
Yeah, and as somebody who has lived without my Atlanta Braves for the last 2 years because I used Hulu Live, and Hulu won't pay to broadcast Bally Sports, I've learned to live without it. I hate it. It drives me nuts.
Is Bally Sports on any of the cord cutting services?
No,
because they're trying to do their own OTT and charge an astronomical amount of money per month. to do it.
Yeah, they're on the only service that they are on is DirecTV's satellite thing, or not satellite thing, their streaming service, whatever DirecTV calls their streaming service.
Their little desktop box that doesn't work well.
Yeah, and it's $25 a month more than what I'm paying for my Hulu Live.
Yeah, it's about what I'm. Send me your referral thing, and I'll get you a free month because I'm about to change it over because they also carry the Big Ten network, and that's the requirement for me.
Yeah, Hulu, the only thing that Hulu Live doesn't have are the Bally networks. Everything else they've got.
Yeah, because the parent company, which is underwater and upside down to the tune of about $8 billion, is trying to find a way to sell that asset and try to recoup some of their money in that, which was Diamond dropped $10 billion, I think, on picking up all the RSNs. And I know that this is the sports channels down here, and which is usually airing at like 3:15 in the morning on Wednesdays. But yeah, they are underwater on that thing so much that they are trying to find a buyer fiercely and try to recoup some of their stuff right now. It is just a mess.
Yeah, the consumer loses in all this, but programming ain't free.
Yeah, you also got to realize that once people get used to not watching you, then you're not going to come back from that.
Yeah, and 2 seasons in, I've pretty much gotten used to the only time I get to see the Braves on television is if they're playing on Big Fox or ESPN or in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It goes with it. I text with a friend of mine, and we can kind of keep each other up to speed on what's going on in the games just from watching the game cast on ESPN.com.
Go back to the Superstation. I grew up in Ohio and I watched Brave games.
Yeah, it's a relic from a bygone era. But the same thing impacts football. I mean, if for some reason ESPN/Disney Plus/ any number of about 7 different networks gets into a battle with a bigger provider than Dish and Sling, that screaming is going to get even louder.
Yeah, and that, keeping it to college football, that's why I'm happy with what the Big Ten did with their contract by putting it on antennas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, they're looking out for they're looking out for their bottom line. No, ifs, ands, or buts about that, but at least they're making it so anybody can watch the game.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. If you get eyeballs to watch a game, you're going to generate some revenue, and if you get enough eyeballs watching the game, you're going to get lots of people advertising with you.
Yeah, that's a problem here with like North Texas. You can't see them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Stadium sometimes, maybe, or ESPN Plus, and I'm not going to pay extra just to watch a 1AA team playing in 1A.
Yeah, I mean, I subscribe to ESPN Plus, but I can watch a Georgia Southern game pretty much every weekend now, but that's not the main reason I subscribe to it.
Right.
It just provides some options that I didn't have in the past. Can't do that with Major League Baseball, unfortunately, because of territorial rights, but that's a whole other conversation we probably need to save for a different show.
Yes.
Great off-season topic.
Yeah. That being said, why don't we go to the halftime break here, guys? We've talked long enough here to start things off on the X. You are listening to the X on the OSG Sports College Football Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
He wanted to be known for doing his best.
Sure, right.
His best made him Major League Baseball's most valuable player.
Strike 2.
He played in 6 World Series and was elected to the Hall of Fame. Although an honest man, he was best at stealing home. But the best quality of Jackie Robinson's life was his character. So here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Thanks for passing it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. There are thousands of veterans still living on the streets of our nation. Please support Veterans Matter. Your donation can help house a veteran in minutes and prevent another from losing their home. Donate at veteransmatter.org or text VETS to 41444 to make a donation of any amount. Let's all help Veterans Matter take care of our own. Thank you.
Oh, yes, I remember now.
Missed it by that much.
Congratulations, everybody. You've made it to the second half of the show where we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the upcoming week in college football. Going to be hard to top the weirdness of this week. But there are some pretty interesting games out there, highlighted by one game that we already talked about a little bit, and that's TCU at Kansas. ESPN Game Day going to be in Lawrence, Kansas for that one. I'm sure Brother J-Dub will be glued to his television set for that one, unless his Wake Forest team's playing or his Tennessee Volunteers are playing.
Campbell.
Or North Carolina State.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. Some good games this week. We talked a little bit already about Georgia and Auburn as the Tigers make their way into the Lions' Den in Athens. Some other interesting games. I want to just talk about this very, very briefly. CBS kind of got suckered into the hype and took the Texas A&M at Alabama game as a primetime game. It's coming Saturday at 8 p.m.
Did you see that the quitter got his truck towed on campus?
Nice.
A1 Towing has no favors. The quitter got his pickup towed.
Woo!
I wonder if there's some money under the table going there, kind of like their recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but Texas A&M coming off a game where they got smoked by Mississippi State in Starkville, has to go from there to Tuscaloosa to face Alabama under the lights. Yeah.
Well, I mean, CBS had to do their doubleheader at some point during the year and bought the early hype on a team that is 3-2. It's probably going to be fading out of the top 25. And yeah, and if they could find a quarterback, then maybe it would be within 3 touchdowns. But I think that this is a bloodletting, kind of like I think this is going to be bloodletting Saturday on CBS, with their early game being Auburn and Georgia, and their night game being A&M and Alabama. It's going to be bloodletting Saturday. It's going to be hosted by Theodoric of York, medieval barber.
This is starting to sound like a good prop bet setup.
That's your Google search for today, kids. Theodoric of York, medieval barber. Go on YouTube. And so Sean McManus will be the Steve Martin character in all of this, and that's what you're going to get. It's not going to be pretty. If you want to get in the door, and you're going to set anywhere from $165 to $220 on fire to get in the building for either game, then you got more money that's disposable than I do. You have
more
fun.
Dollars than cents.
Exactly.
Another interesting matchup, and one that I don't know that a whole lot of people would have seen coming into the season, but that's number 12 Utah, who is 4-1 on the season. Their only loss early to the University of Florida Gators.
Mm-hmm.
They traveled to LA to play, wait for it, the 5-0 UCLA Bruins.
In front of about 12 people.
But it's not that. It's the 5-0 part that's like, what?
And nobody cares.
No, because you can get in the door for $43 at the Rose Bowl.
They'd probably let you walk if there's anybody taking tickets.
True. I will guarantee you that there will be more Utah folks there than UCLA folks. I
wouldn't be surprised. The big Polynesian community out there, they'll come in to see all their family members and cousins. They're playing at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe.
I've got to go.
An interesting game.
As much as everybody looks at DTR for UCLA and what he's able to do, he completes about I'm trying to do math, 10 over 14, 5 over 7, about 70% of his passes. And it's good so far, but I've got to go Utah here. I really do. I think that Utah comes on the road. I think that they turn it into a bit of a home field advantage away from home. I got to go with Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson made one of the best juke moves I've seen all season in this past game.
It was such a collision.
He left 2 guys literally standing at their shoes were on another city.
They tackled each other. They were looking to get DTR, and he just did the little step and then moved to the right. They tackled and fell on each other at the goal line. That was tremendous.
I can't believe he did that with the line dance move.
Oh, I know. DTR and the scooting cookie, basically, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man, that was so bad.
What games are you looking at, Marty?
See, what I'm looking forward to is somebody who went to a small school. And this will be a good test of what your cable or streaming provider gives you. You got Eastern and Western Michigan for Michigan supremacy.
Ooh.
Battle of directional Michigan supremacy.
And it's always fun to get Maction.
Yeah, excuse me.
So, the Mac.
It's always good to get Maction. Hello, what?
Yeah, that's what they call when they do that midweek package. It's called Maction. Okay, so you got that, and then closer to you guys, Georgia Southern, Georgia State.
Yes, I'm very well aware.
For Georgia supremacy, sort of.
Georgia State getting their first win of the season last week, or this past weekend, big win over Army up in New York. My Georgia Southern Eagles have looked pretty good this year. They just have had trouble finishing.
Georgia State could go on a roll. The best thing about being 1-4 is going 2-4.
Well, and Sean Elliott is another coach that is currently being looked at. He might be lukewarm. He might not be on collegehotseat.com yet in the top 15, but that slow start, there are folks.
They've had some success there, though. Maybe he is somebody who ends up on the hot seat, but I just don't see that happening just yet.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if he gets a bye this particular season to try to sort things out come signing day. I'm looking at I want to see how Tennessee responds to going to LSU, considering what we've seen from LSU so far. LSU is one of the most paper tiger 4-1s I've ever seen. And Tennessee at 4-0 heading there. They're the noon kick. They're a noon kick, by the way.
11 a.m. Baton Rouge time.
See, you're not even giving them the opportunity to get started when it comes to celebrating and getting prepared. I mean,
they haven't even gotten past their hangovers yet at that time of the morning there.
Breakfast and then kickoff. It almost seems un-American that you do something like that. And then obviously you've got Red River that's on the board, and that's another noon kick. So you've got Tennessee, LSU on the 4-letter. And then on the parent company, Big ABC from the Cotton Bowl, Texas and Oklahoma. And you got two teams at 3-2. And I know that, Marty, the place will be packed.
Oh, it's going to be insane. The traffic starts on Friday here. Like you avoid, like if you get groceries Thursday and there's just a stream of taillights heading from Oklahoma down here.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I know you're
not.
No. It's just
it's crazy.
That
if you're smart, if you're local to the Dallas area and you're going to go to the fair, park north and get on the rail and ride it straight to the gate.
Okay. I was not aware of this. Okay. I'm down with
something new today.
No doubt.
Yes.
And we don't even get, at the end of the day, we don't even get the 11:59 p.m. kickoff on the Big Island, because they're at San Diego State at Snapdragon. So that if you're going to try and recoup some of your juice box failures from earlier in the day, it's going to have to be with Oregon State and Stanford. That's the latest game on the board in Division.
Yeah, and speaking of San Diego State, they fired their offensive coordinator after this past week's game, big loss to Boise State. They ring up not even 200 yards of total offense.
Now, if you lost a lot of juice boxes and you want to go see a game live, East Carolina and Tulane in New Orleans, as low as $7 a ticket.
Wow, sweet!
You can never go wrong with a game.
I might spend $21 and just have a little bit of arm room on each side.
You go to Mother's and then you find a way to get to Tulane.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. You go get breakfast or lunch, and you go to Mother's, and then you find a way to go to Tulane campus. Actually, you know what? If you're on Tulane's campus, that means you probably need to go to Nandina's instead. You go to Nandina's, you work your way to the Tulane campus, then you go watch the game. Man, that's a full day. I like
It's
that.
a solid Saturday right there.
It's
Not go wrong.
Yeah, and you could accomplish that for under $25 total.
No doubt.
It's probably more for a soda than to get in that game.
True.
Yeah, that's even better than the $12 ticket I scored last weekend to the Tampa Bay Rays versus Toronto Blue Jays game in St. Petersburg.
Shocked you had to actually pay $12.
Now, a close second is the SMU and UCF down in Orlando.
Yeah.
Those are going for a whopping $8.
No interest in seeing Gus Malzahn whatsoever. But yeah, San Diego State right now 2-3. They scored 20 against Arizona. Everybody scores against Arizona.
Yes.
Then they scored 38 against Idaho State, who's not very good in FCS. They lost to Utah, scoring only 7. They beat Toledo, scoring 17, and then losing to Boise, only scoring 13. So yeah, it does make sense that the OC is looking for work.
One quick shout out here before I wrap things up here on the X. Former Atlanta Falcons, UCLA Bruins, wannabe Washington, and current head coach of the UConn Huskies, Jim Mora Jr.
Heard of him.
They got their second win. They beat their first football bowl subdivision team in almost a little over a decade.
Wow.
When they beat Fresno State this past week.
I saw that. That was a stunner for me. Yeah, exactly.
It's their second win of the season.
Who is this UConn that we're staring at under Jim Mora Jr.?
Does this mean he can actually coach?
Depends on the resources, and they're going to FIU, so they're going to play in Boca Raton this upcoming weekend. 7:00 kick. 2-4 versus 2-2, and Marty, they're a contender. They're a contender for your search. Tickets as low as $16 to get in the door at Ricardo Silva to watch.
I would say UConn has a chance of winning that game.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you gotta. Yeah, I'm just wow. UConn at 2-4. Who knew? I mean, yeah, you beat Central Connecticut. Yeah, that you should have. And you're at FIU, you're at Ball State. Then you're in the bye week before you get ready for that big rivalry with Boston College and UMass in back-to-back weeks. I mean, literally, you could be a 4-8 team by the time this season's over. And for football fans at UConn who remember Randy Edsall, the good Randy Edsall, first go round, the first round of Randy Edsall, and somewhere I have my UConn Fiesta Bowl T-shirt. I think somewhere.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah, my UConn Fiesta Bowl T-shirt. I think it wasn't the Insight. I think it was the Fiesta. I think they actually did go to the big bowl game.
They were the team that lost $1 million by playing in the game.
Oh, that's right. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I could see a 4-8 UConn team at the end of this season.
And they're technically state champs because they beat Central Connecticut in their second game.
True. And they could be the champ of the Northeast if they do something with UMass and BC in this round robin. So they could hold the title belt for the Northeastern champ.
They could get a ring going 4-8.
They could be your Connecticut champs and get a ring. And I wouldn't doubt it for a second if Jim Mora did that.
That would be pretty impressive. I would dig that.
Champs. Connecticut state champs, and he will market the ever-loving daylights out of that. Guarantee it.
Nothing wrong with that. Guys, let's go ahead and wrap up the show here. We got stuff to do here on a busy day at Galactic headquarters of the Online Sports Guys.
True.
So for OSG Nelson, for Brother Marty, I am OSG Phil. We are the Online Sports Guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will hopefully be back with the X next week. Have a good week. Bye, y'all.
Please like and subscribe.